Hello. I get asked all of the time how I set my goals for my business or for my life. So this is one of the tools that I use that hopefully you can take on board and use for yourself to help you achieve some of those goals in your life. So I call this my goal funnel. And what I always start off with is what is my major goal that I want to achieve. And I'm going to give you an example of one for me that I'm working towards now, which is taking a group of 30 high net worth individuals to Necker Island. Now, when you've got that overall goal that you want, the main thing, you might say to yourself, well, how do I get there? But first of all, before we think about how we're going to get there, let's start off with why you actually want to achieve the goal. It's achieving, the purpose of that is the most important bit, the why. So for me, why do I want to take 30 people to Necker Island? Well, to enrich them and help them change their life. Second reason I want to do it is I'm going to have a fantastic holiday while I'm there. Meet Richard Branson. Always been one of my goals in life is to meet him and try and pick his brains and maybe get into that lift of his in Necker Island and pitch to him. And it's another one off my bucket list. So there's my why of why I want to achieve this particular one. Now, what I say to you is that once you've got the goal, we actually need to start with the end in mind. So let's go back. What is the goal? And then work backwards rather than actually start at the beginning and come down. So let me explain that. So we want to work a week in Necker Island with a group of high net worth individuals. There's 3 of us on this course that are going to deliver this course to these people. So what we've decided, this is how we're going to do it. The next thing back is, what is the first paid week we're going to do abroad? So before we actually get to Necker Island, we're going to practice this abroad and charge people for it. The step before that is a paid week in the UK. So that's the next step. So we do the paid week in the UK, then we'll do the paid week abroad, and then we'll do the one in Necker Island. But before the paid week in the UK, we need to have the first paid week in the UK. So we do 2 in the UK, 1 abroad, and then the one in Necker Island. But before we do the first paid week in the UK, we need to have a paid weekend. So how do we put a weekend together that is actually a bit of a pitch, but it's value in itself, but it'll lead to the first paid week. But before the paid weekend, what do we need to do? We need to have our sales days. So how are we going to form those sales days to actually sell them up to the first paid weekend, and then onto the first paid week, and then the second paid week, and then the first paid week abroad, and then onto the main event. But in order, before we do that, we actually need to come together and the team needs to practice. How do the 3 of us that are going to deliver this great week on Necker Island, how are we going to do that? So we need to practice. But before we practice, we need to know what the individual content is that we're going to deliver. So each of us have our own speciality. So as you know, mine is mindset. How do we change that mindset into something really positive? So my content, I need to put that together. The other 2 need to do theirs. And then we've had to start marketing. So we've got to think about our marketing. So number 1, we need to see if there's a demand for what we're actually going to deliver, because there's no point in putting the content together if we haven't, if there's no market for it. So before we do that, we need to put together the context of the course. So what is the overall message that we're going to try and deliver on this week on Necker Island? So the thing before that, we need to know specifically what and specifically when are we going to do those bits, and then what can we do on a daily basis, our daily actions that work through this, so it all filters down through the goal funnel and we come out the other end with our week in Necker Island with those 30 high net worth individuals. So just break it down. So the first thing is we're looking at the context of the course, and then we'll market that to see if there's actually a market there for what we're trying to deliver. And if there is, then we'll come together and put the individual content together. And then the next bit is our team practice. And then it'll be the sales days. We'll put those together. And then we'll have our first paid weekend, our first paid week in the UK, our second paid week in the UK, moving on to our first paid week abroad, and then which then pushes on to our week in Necker Island. Now, if we achieve all of that, there is our major definite goal achieved and fulfilled. Now, remember, it's the daily actions towards our little bits that are taking us towards the end goal. And what happens with a lot of people, because that goal is quite big at the end, they don't actually start anything. So it's breaking it down, start at the end, break it down into daily actions of how you can achieve that goal. And then every day you can ask yourself, have I moved towards my goal or have I moved away from it? But one thing's for sure, if you don't put it in at the top, you definitely won't be taking it out at the bottom. If you'd like to know any more about goal setting, then contact me, ash@ashlawrence.co.uk. And if you've enjoyed this video, please watch the next video just here, or subscribe to my YouTube channel just here.